Your Indianapolis Colts are 2-0 with 2 wins in the conference and a divisional game coming up this week. I don't know about you guys, but this Colts team just seems different to me. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right. Thanks for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. This is your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. What is up, everybody? This is Jake Arthur. I am the Indianapolis Colts beat reporter for Roundtable Sports. And today we are obviously talking about this Colts win over the Denver Broncos, 29-28. What a thriller. Again, it moves this team to 2-0. They are first in the AFC South. Suck it, everybody. It's been a while since, number one, they could be 2-0. It was 2009 the last time they were 2-0. Peyton Manning was the quarterback. And it seems like forever ago that they were ever in charge of the division. So after this week against the Tennessee Titans, hopefully for them, they are 3-0 and then can kind of form a little more cushion there. So we'll certainly see how that goes. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. So this was obviously a very exciting affair, a thriller, I would put it. The Colts had a little bit of an edge early on. They controlled things up until about early in the second quarter, and then just kind of the meat of the sandwich that is the game totally got away from them. Denver controlled most of it. They never really ran away with it, but it was definitely Denver controlling that thing throughout most of the second, third, and really even into the fourth quarters. Late game heroics by the Colts. They really, really needed it. Cam Bynum came up with his second interception of the season, his second in as many games, and of course had an awesome celebration to go with it as well. And after that, Jonathan Taylor helped take over. He racked up a huge gain after that to get the Colts really keep that momentum going. Helped them get some points on the board. They had a couple field goals late in the game as well. Jonathan Taylor, that was a vintage Jonathan Taylor game overall. 165 yards rushing, over 200 yards total, a touchdown, had a couple huge gains. Tyler Warren continues to just be an excellent, excellent addition for the Colts. He is off to an incredible start, not only just for like the Colts and rookie tight ends, but for recent memory with NFL tight ends in general. He is really off to a hot start and pushing the record book statistically already. Michael Pittman Jr. for the second week in a row has been a great, he has shown up and looks rid of that back injury that plagued him last year. Other than that third down drop late in the game, but we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, the Colts got some contributions from all over to really make this thing happen. Kind of the name of the game in the first win they had against the Dolphins was complementary football. They dominated offense, defense, special teams. This one, there was no domination. They had their good moments, but it did take all three phases coming up and doing well. The offense had nearly 500 yards, so there's no worries there. Like the offense is going to be all right. They've been on fire. Denver is an awesome defense, and the Colts just figured some things out, and they did what worked. And good thing for them, that came by land and by air, because Daniel Jones had a huge game as well. So that was really good. Obviously, Spencer Schrader knocking in all of his kicks. Let's go into this late game sequence real quick, because this almost wasn't a win that we were talking about. And it was due in large part to this final sequence when the Colts got down into Denver's side of things. So it was like 3 minutes left. They're backed up in their own territory. They get into Denver territory, and Shane Steichen is just calling a really, really conservative game. I think the only pass they had on that drive was like a third down to Alec Pierce when they really needed to get it. And they kind of almost had to pass. But other than that, they were just running. And Denver knew that. They sold out to stop the run. And Jonathan Taylor had some decent runs early in the series, but they obviously kind of stonewalled him there at the end, to the point where they were going to have to rely on Spencer Schrader to kick a 60-yard field goal when he's never even attempted that before. His career long was in the 40s. Like, this was it was a ballsy move by Shane to really approach it that way. And then, of course, if you haven't seen it by now, the Colts did have to go for that 60-yard field goal, and Schrader misses it wide right. But then there is a leverage penalty on the play for Denver right up the middle. They kind of pressed down on the long snapper and tried to jump up above him to, again, get the leverage to block it. Penalty, advances 15 yards, and then Schrader is true from 45 yards to give the Colts that 29-28 victory. And again, I don't know about you guys, but how I said at the top, this team just feels different. The Colts haven't always won these games, especially against like really good playoff caliber teams like the Broncos. There were several moments throughout the game where I was like, well, this is just kind of how it goes. Like this is going to come back around in the end to favor the Broncos, and that'll be it. The Colts had a hard-fought game, but they won't wind up winning, and that's not how it happened. There were some penalties that didn't go the Colts' way. Now, Denver would argue that there were some things officiating-wise that went the Colts' way. But in general, I think we've all kind of got some gripes there. But in general, this team does just feel different. It doesn't feel like there is one side of the ball that's just awful and holding them back. It doesn't feel like there's a ton holding them back. Now, the injuries on defense, I do feel are somewhat of a concern. Charvarius Ward and Latu, I think they were sorely missed out there. So you want to see them get back as soon as possible. Xavier Howard, obviously, we'll talk about that here in a moment. But that was a game with plenty of warts for him. But they've won both games now in totally different fashions. Again, domination against Miami. And now in this matchup, it was gritty. They had to claw back and come back and form a fourth quarter comeback victory. They got a second lease on life there at the end where they missed the field goal, and then they have to nail it from 45 yards out. And just in the locker room after, like this seems like a team that truly believes. And we were kind of asking around the locker room after the game, a couple of the veterans that have been there and seen some crap and gone through it with the Colts, for lack of a better term. They've gone through it, and now, like, do they really feel like they're turning a corner? Does this team feel different? So I'm going to go ahead and play just a quick couple examples from Kenny Moore and Jonathan Taylor talking about if they do feel like this team feels a little bit different.
You're one of those guys that has been here through it all. Does it feel like you guys are turning a corner?
Does it feel like we're turning a corner?
Does this team feel different?
We feel really great. We've done a lot. It starts with Shane, though. It starts with Shane. Shane has put us in a position, player-wise, team-wise, foundation-wise, to win games like this.
2-0 start since 2009. The energy, the vibes of this team, how do they compare now to your other seasons that you've been here?
I just think that there's a little bit something extra. It's a little bit something extra, and of course we know we're honoring Mr. Irsay, and of course we know he's looking down, and we know that we have a little bit of that blessing on us, but it's just about that focus, that emphasis each and every single week, and understanding that we're on a mission. And for us to be able to play for one another, offense, defense, special teams, playing that complementary ball, that's how we're going to win games.
Yeah, so I think a lot of us see it. I think the players see it. Like, they are kind of playing for something much bigger than themselves this year. Obviously, the memory of Jim Irsay, but this very much feels like a brotherhood and like a team that really has each other's backs. I think you could see it out there. Even talking to like some of the younger guys. Like, I talked to Tyler Warren after the game, and he's like, just to be able to do this kind of stuff and see like Quentin Nelson and his reactions after the game, how happy he is with this stuff. It just kind of makes him feel really, really accomplished. So it feels like all these guys are buying in. Like, what you could say about Shane Steichen is, whatever you want to say about him, like, the guy is consistent as it comes, and he always brings the same message and the same energy. And then when you have the right players around, the right coaches around for everything to finally come together, that's when that message can really take hold and push this team forward. So Steichen is a guy who I think can coach a bit and lead a team. It has to take the right people around him, again, as coaches and players. And it looks like the Colts might finally have that right cohesive group of people there in the building. But obviously it's still a young season. There's a lot more to happen. So we'll obviously talk way more about that as things develop. But coming up, guys, we talked obviously about Daniel Jones, some of the offense. Let's talk some more offense. Let's get a little more detailed into this thing because this thing's humming. They're arguably the best offense in the league, and there's a lot to talk about here. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you could turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing PrizePicks lately, and it's honestly just a really fun way to stay locked into the season. It's quick, easy, and honestly my favorite way to follow along with football when the Colts aren't playing. I've been trying to be intentional about watching more of the primetime games and just non-Colts action this year, and this obviously makes it a little more interesting when you got some cash and prizes on the line. So next week's max discount over on PrizePicks includes Patrick Mahomes going under or over a half of a passing yard. I don't know about you guys. I feel good about that one. Not great things going on in Kansas City right now. I think they're going to need all the passing yards from Patrick that they can get. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right, welcome back, everydayers. We are obviously talking about your 2-0 Indianapolis Colts today, and I want to move specifically into the offense. So I'll talk a little bit about Daniel Jones, but I think the plan is for Zach and Ben Boris, our friend Colts Film Room over there on Twitter. They're going to get into Daniel Jones' game at more of a molecular level. As you know, those two film nerds, they're going to really get into it. That should be tomorrow's show. So I won't go too much into it. But, I mean, again, Daniel Jones, the guy is proving Shane Steichen correct all the time. And this really seems for real. And the reason I say that is because he's not a guy where his game is based off of physical ability, basically. Like, that's not his superpower or his defining trait. He's a guy that helps win the chess match. He sees what the defense is doing and knows how to correct the offense, whether it's the play call or the alignment or the protection, to fix that, to account for what that defense is doing, get them in the right spots, get through reads quickly and get rid of the ball quickly. And he is mastering that. Like, whatever him and Shane Steichen have going on right now, it's really, really working. It obviously all starts up front with the offensive line. They crush things once again against another really aggressive front. I mean, Miami, it doesn't look like it, but Miami has a really talented group up front with all those pass rushers. Zach Seiler inside. Denver, even better, honestly. They got Nick Benito. You know, they had Zach Allen out there as well. They got a deep group of guys, and this protection really held up. Just one sack on Daniel Jones, and I don't know what he could have done on that one because they brought the house, and you know, just the play was dead basically as soon as it started. And the Colts, again, on the ground, 167 rushing yards. So it's not like they're just really excelling in one particular area. They're imposing their will in the run game and opening up holes for Jonathan Taylor, and they're keeping Daniel Jones clean and giving him time to throw. The offensive line is really, really good. We talked about it last week. Of all the things that we saw against Miami that, you know, it's going to go on to be legit or it could go on to be fool's gold throughout the season, if the offensive line was going to prove to be one of those things that was legit, that was going to probably lead to this being a pretty good team, at least a very good offense throughout the year, because obviously we know what Jonathan Taylor can do, but if you give Daniel Jones time to process things, obviously it looks like that should be pretty fruitful. Talking about that run game a little more, again, this was a vintage performance by Jonathan Taylor, 165 on the ground and then 50 through the air. Had a couple of 10-yard runs, had the 40-plus yard catch, the 60-plus yard run there near the end of the game to really get the momentum that they needed. This guy, he's underappreciated somehow. I go through the Colts send out a kind of like a stat book, a record book after every game, talking about different milestones and stuff guys reach. For a few years now, Jonathan Taylor has been flying through the Colts record books. And it's time to start having this conversation now about, is Jonathan Taylor really like the second most prolific Indianapolis Colts running back of all time behind Edgerrin James? I think we're pretty much getting to the point where that's true. They've had Marshall Faulk, they've had Eric Dickerson. Those guys' entire body of work with, the Los Angeles Rams and everywhere they've been, that obviously has to be taken into account. But as far as achievements with the Indianapolis Colts goes, I think Jonathan Taylor probably stands only behind Edgerrin James. I think it would be really hard to argue that at that point. And we're only 2 games into this season. He's leading the NFL in rushing right now. He gets another rushing crown or finishes top 3, top 5 again. Like this guy needs to start getting a little more of his flowers. I think we've honestly maybe just got a little bit of like excellence exhaustion with him. Like we've gotten used to seeing him just be so good all the time that it's almost expected. And it's almost not appreciated at this point because it's like a foregone conclusion. So Jonathan Taylor, obviously the heartbeat of this offense, running behind a really good offensive line. Tyler Warren on fire, 4 catches for 79 yards. He's doing everything they drafted him to do. He was unsuccessful on his one carry, his fullback dive there for the attempted first down there at midfield. But he got it in the week 1. This guy is stretching downfield. He's creating a ton of yards after the catch. Like he had that one later in the game that created 10 or 15 extra yards. So he has been every bit as advertised. The receivers, I feel like they got a full complement from the receivers. Michael Pittman Jr. has been excellent, again, outside of that one drop on 3rd down. Alec Pierce has had some really, really valuable catches, had that 40-plus yard one. He caught a couple of first downs against Patrick Surtain on Sunday as well. So Surtain is widely considered the best cornerback in the game. He's the reigning defensive player of the year. And the Colts have got a couple guys that beat him throughout the game. I'm not going to say Surtain didn't have a good game, but the Colts receivers definitely showed up and did their part against the premier corner in the NFL. Josh Downs got a little more involved. He converted a few first downs, got a play downfield as well. So really liked what I saw from the passing game there. Let's talk about the officiating a little bit, at least on the offensive side. I watched the game again today, and this would have been an even more explosive affair if you got any one of the calls for A.D. Mitchell when Jones targeted him 50 yards down the field and Surtain gave him a nice little hug there, which influenced the play, I think. And then later, I think it was the Colts' next drive. Alec Pierce was kind of grabbed there in the end zone, would have been a 15-yard touchdown. So I didn't want to not mention that. I'm not blame things on officiating guy. And like the Colts won anyways, but those guys' numbers would have looked a whole lot better with those touchdowns included, especially A.D. Mitchell. And, let's talk about A.D. Mitchell real quick. He's only got a few catches, I think 3 or 4 catches so far. And I kind of think, even if this guy gets like 30 catches this year, that's not much. But if the efficiency is better, then I think that could still be a pretty successful season for him. I think it looks like he's calmed down a good bit. He's not like fighting against himself, and the balls are mostly being delivered to him pretty accurately. There was another deep shot that Jones took for him later in the game, just overthrew him. He just put everything into it, and it was a little too far. But Mitchell's winning his matchups, winning his one-on-ones, and he's catching the ball. Like it's simple. It's a very simple concept, but he's doing it, and I think we're seeing a little bit of growth out of A.D. Mitchell. That's definitely a very fresh development for this team. And then I guess my last gripe here is red zone. They were only 2 of 6 on Sunday against the Broncos, and that's after they were 3 of 6 against the Dolphins. So it's starting to become a little bit of a trend. I think defenses know they want to target Jonathan Taylor, so they're loading up a little bit there. And whereas in between the 20s, Daniel Jones has been a lot more aggressive. I do think he's very cognizant about where the ball is going in the red zone and maybe doesn't want to try and fit them into as many tight windows. I'm kind of feel like that's where the issue is at the moment. But again, the season is young. They still have some things to work out. I mean, Tennessee's got a pretty decent defense. coming up this Saturday or Sunday, but I think there are some opportunities there. If they get Downs more involved, if they get Tyler Warren more involved in the red zone, I think they can maybe finally crack that one. So, all right, guys, let's talk about this defense. It was not their strongest day, definitely not what they did against Miami, but they did step up and make some plays when they absolutely needed them. All right, this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. You know, guys, we all turn to some funny places for advice sometimes. Your barista, your barber, maybe even a random stranger in the bathroom. Maybe you go to the park and talk to the birds. Whatever you want to do, that's fine with me. But not everyone is the right one when it comes to real support. That's why BetterHelp is here. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 10 years of experience, BetterHelp helps you find the right match, someone clinically trained and credentialed to guide you through life's challenges. I like that you can start with a simple questionnaire so they find a little bit more about you to know where to place you and who to kind of hook you up with. And BetterHelp does a really good job of matching things for you. And if it's not the right fit, then you can always switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. It's flexible. You could join sessions online from home or on the go, which makes therapy fit into your busy schedule. And as the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. So find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off of their first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, Colts fans, tell me, are you still paying full price for gas? It is incredibly expensive to be alive, and gas prices have been probably the main thing we have complained about for years and years and years. But you know what? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time that you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use our limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas that you already need. At first, I did think it was too good to be true because, I mean, that's gas. You got to have it. But if you're going to get rewarded for buying something that you needed to get, then shoot. I mean, who am I to shoo that away? Plus, you can cash out anytime on your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. So don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now by using our limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN for a limited time 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code TOUCHDOWN. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. All right, let's talk defense, everybody. All right, so the Colts were without Laiatu Latu, and they were without Charvarius Ward due to injuries. And boy, were those guys missed because the Colts had almost no pass rush. They didn't sack Bo Nix once. They only had 5 pressures total, and I think they were all hurries, so they didn't really hit him either. So we've all become accustomed to those games over the last few years where they cannot buy a sack or just any harassment of the quarterback at all, and it can be incredibly frustrating. So I do think this pass rush is in pretty rough shape. They need Laiatu Latu back, but not only that, but he needs to come back and be a star, the star that they wanted him to be and that they think he is, because our fears seem to be confirmed. They're going to be very, very reliant on how he does. That's going to be how their pass rush goes. DeForest Buckner is going to do his thing in the middle, but they need someone from the outside, and that was very, very evident against the Broncos. In the passing game, a lot of it did not go well. I liked what Denver did from their perspective with a ton of cross routes and, mesh and stuff like that. They really made things difficult. A lot of yards after catch opportunity as well. Took a couple shots. Had that one to Troy Franklin on the left side when the play kind of broke down and coverage busted a little bit. But they picked on Xavier Howard. There's really no way to really spin it. Like, this was truly a bad game. He had that one series where he had 3 penalties within 5 plays. I thought 2 of the 3 were good calls. I wouldn't have called that first one against when he was guarding Cortland Sutton, and they were still, I think, in the high red zone. I think that one was really a bad call, but the other ones were legit. He had some missed tackles as well. Obviously had some catches given up. He gave up that touchdown to Marvin Mims early in the game. And I had asked Zach late in the week, I think it was our Friday show, our final pregame wrap-up, I was like, would you stick Xavier Howard just on Cortland Sutton for the matchup alone? Because you don't want him matched up with Troy Franklin or Marvin Mims because those guys can fly. So matching him up against Cortland Sutton and Pat Bryant, guys who maybe aren't like speed demons, was probably the better case. But, they're shorthanded in the secondary. Mekhi Blackman was out there for the most part for Charvarius Ward. I probably would have liked to see Jonathan Edwards a little bit more, especially when things started rolling downhill for Howard. I don't think it would have hurt immensely to get Edwards out there because they were really starting to pick on Howard. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. We've heard so much about how Lou Anarumo and the coaching staff keeps guys accountable. But if Howard keeps this up and teams keep picking on him and they're giving up touchdowns, he's getting penalties, they're going to have to replace him with somebody. He can't just be out there because he's a veteran and they know and trust him. That's gonna have a weak link out there. And surely Jonathan Edwards, as a rookie, can maybe grow into something more than what Howard would be giving you. But again, one bad game. We'll see how it goes against Tennessee. That's not the best, most explosive receiver core in the league. So we'll see if he could bounce back a little bit. Someone else who kind of highlighted or low-lighted, I guess, in this one, Cam McGrone. Now, I don't know for certain yet. We'll talk to Lou Anarumo tomorrow. But that short touchdown to Adam Troutman, the Broncos tight end, it did look like McGrone was just lost in the woods in that one. It looked like Troutman may have been his man, but McGrone just did not seem to know who to follow in that one. He definitely looked a little confused. I also noticed he had a missed tackle later in the game on a really good Denver run. So not the strongest performance by McGrone. He's been rotating in at the will linebacker spot with Joe Bacci. So maybe more looks for Bacci, and then whenever Jalen Carlisle eventually gets back, work him in there as well. The run defense, we were a little concerned about that coming into the year, and it appears that might be a little bit of a struggle. They gave up 118 yards on the ground on Sunday, a good yard per carry for the opponents in both games, about 5 plus. It just, it looks like guys are getting stuck on blocks on the line, and then the linebackers aren't necessarily fitting the lanes, and they're kind of getting stuck on blocks as well a lot of the time. I haven't noticed it being like a whole big bevy of missed tackles necessarily, as much as guys not getting off the blocks in time as the ball is approaching them and getting beyond them. So yeah, they're just going to have to work on getting into better spots at the right time and then shedding those blocks, or it could be kind of a long day for the run defense. Now, with that, all the bad stuff out of the way, a couple of defenders I really wanted to shout out because I thought they had just damn near elite games: Nick Cross and Grover Stewart. So Cross was everywhere. It felt like, so watching it up in the press box, with the eye in the sky, you could see him flying around and he was around the ball a lot. But when I rewatched and I saw like the TV copy, I was like, he truly was around the ball the whole time. Like it looked exactly how he did last year, where he was one of the most consistent defenders they had throughout the season, but an amped up version. Like he was there to break up passes, hit guys as soon as the ball got there, make tackles on ball carriers, make tackles on screens, hit hard. Like he was such a tone setter. And I think we're really, really seeing the continued growth of Nick Cross into a star player for this defense. And then Grover Stewart, I just thought he was an awesome, awesome run defender. I was looking at the numbers for both Cross and Grover Stewart after the game on Pro Football Focus. So they have a metric called a stop, which is basically just a failure enforced from the defense on the offense, like a play that a defender made that caused an offensive play to totally fail. They gave six. I think they had 6 tackles for Cross, and 5 of those were considered stops for him. And then all 5 for Grover were considered stops. So they basically said those guys were wholly responsible for enforcing a ton of failures by the Broncos offense. And those numbers essentially verify exactly what I think we all saw with our own eyes. Those 2 guys just had absolute star performances in a game that really needed it, because a lot of stuff on defense was going wrong. So they needed a couple guys to step up. Obviously, Zaire Franklin came up with a couple big plays, a couple big hits. Kenny Moore had a couple rough reps in coverage, but he did have a big hit where he kind of killed a screenplay as well. And then Cam Bynum, of course, coming up with an interception when the Colts absolutely needed it most in the red zone. And then we got to talk about kickers. Zach might be getting out of talking about kickers on this one, but Spencer Schrader, brilliant. Obviously, you want him to miss that 60-yarder or make that 60-yarder, not get bailed out with the penalty. But other than that, the guy has been perfect on the year. 9 of 9 on field goals. That was 4 of 4 in week 1, 5 of 5 on Sunday against the Broncos. He's also made all of his extra points as well. So the guy is perfect in kicks that have counted this year. And again, the Colts took a big risk on that, letting Matt Gay go, a veteran who they probably weren't as comfortable with anymore because he had gotten unpredictable. If you've seen him with Washington, it's getting worse. But I mean, Schrader was a rookie undrafted free agent last year who had bounced around to 3 teams. And now he's absolutely steady Eddie for the Colts. And so far looks like a good answer for the kicking problems they've had since Adam Vinatieri retired, essentially. So that is it for me today, guys. Again, the plan is for Zach and Ben Boris, a.k.a. Colts Film Room, from Twitter to break down Daniel Jones' game tomorrow on the show. So that one will be really, really good. Make sure you're appointment TV for that one. You don't want to miss that. Again, thank you guys for watching us today. Now, for your next listen, you're going to want to go ahead and check out the Locked On NFL podcast. Tyler Madman Rowland gives you a shot of espresso to start your football day, while Tony Wiggins takes you into the barbershop for the smoothest breakdowns to end your day. So find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you guys want to become a Locked On Colts insider and chat with us directly and get the inside scoop, what's being said in the locker room, what's going on in there, follow the link in our show notes. Please do that. Actually, I'm going to start hitting that even harder for you guys because I love to chat with you guys. You have great questions. Those of you who are in the insider program, and always good stuff. You know, sometimes you make us think of new concepts and ways to think of things when it comes to this team as well. So I love it. I want to hear more of your voices. So again, follow the link in our show notes for that. If you don't already, follow at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at Zach Hicks 2, all on Twitter. We're on TikTok and Instagram as well. Also, please be sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. We would love your ratings and reviews as well. And with that, you guys have an awesome night, and we will see you tomorrow.